The hollow room. I never should have gone back to that house. But there was something about it, something unfinished, something gnawing at the back of my mind for years. I'd grown up hearing stories about the old Harlow estate, the decaying mansion that stood at the edge of town like a rotting tooth. People whispered about the family that once lived there, about the fire that gutted half the house, about the strange lights sometimes seen through broken windows at night. When I was 16, I had snuck in once with friends on a dare. Back then, it was just a crumbling ruin with graffiti on the walls and a smell of mold thick enough to choke on. We laughed, broke bottles, and took pictures to show off at school. But in the middle of that night, while everyone else had gone upstairs to look for the infamous burnt nursery, I found a room in the basement. A room that shouldn't have been there. I never spoke about it. Not once. Because the moment I stepped inside, I felt the walls breathing. 17 years later, I was back in town for my father's funeral. Grief has a way of digging up everything you thought you buried, and somehow, my mind kept circling back to that house. To that room. One night, when sleep refused to come, I got into my car and drove through the mist-wrapped streets. The mansion sat behind a wrought iron gate half collapsed into the weeds. The roof sagged, ivy strangled the chimneys, and the windows were black sockets staring out at me. I should have turned back. But I didn't. Inside, the house smelled worse than I remembered, rot and damp, the scent of things long dead. My flashlight beam caught flaking wallpaper, collapsed beams, and nests of spiders clinging to ceilings. Every creak of the floorboards made me flinch. And then I found the basement door. It was still there, swollen with water damage, hanging half open like a mouth waiting to swallow me. I expected rubble. Maybe the same dusty shelves and broken furniture I half remembered from my teenage years. But when I descended the stairs, my light fell on walls that looked wrong. They weren't brick. They weren't wood. They were smooth, pale, and faintly damp, like skin. My breath misted in front of me though the air wasn't cold. And then there was the door. It wasn't made of wood or iron. It was an archway cut directly into that strange pale surface, and beyond it lay a blackness that seemed too deep for a basement. My body screamed at me to leave, but something inside, some hunger, some unfinished thread from years ago pushed me forward. The moment I crossed the threshold, the house above me disappeared. The room was vast. My flashlight only revealed fragments, curves of bone-colored walls, a floor slick with something that looked like tar, shapes half seen in the dark. The smell was unbearable, metallic, and sweet, like old blood. And then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. Not human. It was slow, wet, dragging. The walls seemed to pulse with it, expanding and contracting in time with each breath. There will be no this inserted audio clip if you buy the software license key or activation key. I turned in circles, trying to find the source, but the sound came from everywhere at once. Hello. The word slipped out before I could stop it. The answer was silence then, a faint sound like nails tapping on glass. It came from behind me. I spun around. At the far end of the hollow, something moved. My light caught the edge of it, a figure, impossibly tall, its limbs too long, its body bent at wrong angles like broken marionette strings. Its face was nothing but a smooth stretch of skin, no eyes, no mouth, only a faint indentation where a head should be. It stood there, trembling, like it was waiting. I should have run. I should have screamed. Instead, I lifted my flashlight higher, and that's when I saw the carvings on the walls. They weren't just walls. They were covered in faces. Hundreds of faces, stretched into the pale surface, mouths open in silent screams. Some were twisted in agony, others in frozen terror, all of them straining outward as though desperate to break free. And one of them was me. My own face, perfectly captured in the wall, eyes wide, and lips parted as if caught in the moment of horror. The light flickered. The tall shape was closer now. It didn't move like a person. It jerked forward in spasms, limbs cracking, head tilting too far to the side as though straining to listen. Every step it took left behind dark stains on the floor, as if the ground itself bled where it walked. Then, in the thick silence, I heard a voice. Not out loud. Not in the air. Inside my head. You came back. I dropped the flashlight. It rolled, its beam spinning wildly across the walls, illuminating more faces, more silent mouths, more eyes that looked far too real. Who, what are you? I stammered. You saw us once before. You left us here. But now you belong. The walls pulsed, the faces shifted as though they were moving beneath the surface. And I realized what they were. They weren't carvings. They were people. The floor began to ripple, dark liquid spreading like veins. My legs felt heavy, sinking slightly with each step as though the room itself wanted to swallow me. I ran. The archway back to the basement loomed in the distance, impossibly far. The figure's steps echoed behind me, too fast, too broken. I didn't dare look back. My lungs burned, my legs threatened to give out, but I kept running. And then I felt it. Hands. Cold, wet hands clawing at my ankles, my wrists, my clothes. They reached from the floor, from the walls, from the faces pressing outward. They clutched at me with desperate strength, dragging me toward the surface of the wall. I screamed, kicking, tearing free, but every step forward brought more hands, more faces. My own reflection in the wall twisted, its mouth opening wider, its eyes rolling in agony. The voice thundered again, "You are Harlow. You are ours." I don't know how I made it. The archway was right there, pulsing like a wound in the pale surface. With one last desperate lunge, I threw myself forward. For a heartbeat, I felt the wall close around me, squeezing, trying to pull me back in. And then I was falling slamming hard against rotting wooden steps, my flashlight clattering beside me. The basement. Just the basement. The smooth walls were gone. The archway was nothing but crumbled brick. The air smelled of dust and mildew again. But when I looked at the wall, my stomach dropped. There was still a face there. Not hundreds. There will be no this inserted audio clip if you buy the software license key or activation key. Just one. Mine. I stumbled out of the house before dawn, covered in grime, my hands bleeding from where the walls had clawed at me. The town was quiet, ordinary, as if none of it had happened. But I know better. At night, when the world goes still, I can hear the breathing again. Slow. Wet. Patient. And when I look in the mirror, sometimes just for a second I see the wall behind me, pale and pulsing, with my own face staring back. Waiting. Because the Harlow doesn't let go. It only waits for you to come back.